And on that same issue of political tools, we've seen recently this government adopt an approach in relation to big events. As of recently, we've had things like the Diamond Ball hosted by the First Lady. We've had the Main Street Christmas light up now hosted by the government, and there's several big activities that take over a large expenditure. While on the other hand, we have the average Guyanese suffering to or struggling to make ends meet in relation to that. Is it a case where we can say that the priorities of this government are misplaced?
They are not only misplaced, they are political machinations. Let's go back. You had Kashif in Shanghai, which was a private investment. We've had our problems with them at the political level. But as a young business entity, it was doing a fine job in Guyana. That has been killed by the government. So that you see One Guyana football, everything has been politicized. I hold no brief. As far as I know, they do support the PPP Kashif in Shanghai. But as a politician, I have to observe that the government has destroyed entertainment institution. I hold the same view about the handling of hits and jams, where here you had, and I'm no lover of hits and jams. I'm talking here from the standpoint of a fledgling business that young people started, and they were doing fairly good as business people. But the government has virtually taken over all the entertainment. It has become so bad that if you are an artist and you're not supportive of the government, you can no longer access resources. So when you kill the private sector entertainment, you are in fact making the society more dictatorial and authoritarian, because artists do not have the opportunity or as much opportunity as they had before to be part of a private sector entertainment body, and therefore can get the best people you want. I mean, you just have to see how the government marginalizes Crazies. It's not for lack of ability. It is from their perception that he is not controllable politically. And so it's a dangerous trend that people aren't paying attention to. The government becoming involved in entertainment and certain social activities and pushing out private people. And yet the private sector commission will go on as if this government, of course, a lot of them in the private sector commission are PPP oriented persons, but they cannot see that people are being pushed out of business and the government is monopolizing the entertainment industry. And so that avenue for people to independently make money virtually no longer exists. And I think it is something that we have to pay careful attention to. You cannot claim to like the private sector, but you are selective in who you push out. And I can give you numerous other cases where you saw young entrepreneurs. I mean, the first time I went to a rum fest, I felt it was a good business, we call it. It is obvious to me that they have been pushed out as well. Of course, the government could go now and tell them they need to say they weren't pushed out, blah, 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 because that's what they do. But we are seeing a government that is consistently and continuously authoritarian. And they are closing off a lot of opportunities for young private sector development unless they are in charge of it.
But how do we respond to that? Where they can say, or the argument can be made, that in relation to developing a tourism brand in Guyana, and in relation to being able to empower some of those entities in the private sector, especially the entertainment? How do we respond to that?
I respond to it to say the government should be a facilitator, not an actor. What has happened is the government has moved from creating the environment for that entertainment industry to succeed to becoming a key actor. So, on the one hand, you are talking about private sector development, but on the other hand, you are pushing state centered and state control entertainment while simultaneously pushing young entertainment and entrepreneurs out of business. The government cannot come now and make the argument, such an argument. If you're claiming that you're business oriented and you're private sector oriented, then you should put the rules and regulation in place and facilitate private sector development. But you can't identify an industry, okay, and decide you're going to close off that industry. And if you say it's discrimination, they will become annoyed. But look at the people who are closed out of the entertainment sector, and you will see. And a lot of people in the entertainment sector will afraid to speak, but they know it is the reality. You no longer have in the society a striving private sector entertainment industry. All of it, or most of it, have been usurped by the government, and the government exercises control to the point where individual artists see their only chance of existence is being supportive of the government and whatever they're doing, even though it is killing the very industry that they should be in. Hits and Jams, for instance, and like I said, I hold no brief for them. I've had differences with them, but they were doing extremely well in the entertainment industry, and you have virtually forced them out. You might say you give them a contract, but the contract was outside of the confines of their capabilities. Their real competitive advantage is in entertainment. And so I see the government's approach as one of killing entertainment in the private sector if they cannot control the persons.